initially I thought it was crazy. Then I was like, this is kind of interesting. Then I started learning a little bit more, and I was like, okay, this is really interesting. Then 2015 happened, and much like Ronen was saying before, like with Cyprus in 2013 or 14 and capital controls and so on, like this happened here, you'll probably remember it. And I was like, well, the institutions that I thought were like with us and protecting kind of like our way of life and such, like don't seem to be that way. And so I was like, I'm gonna vote out with my capital, and so that's when I kind of like really got Bitcoin built. But then 2017 Ethereum came along. I started kind of like realizing that like, oh wait, you have a security layer, but on top you can have like applications. That's fucking cool. And so I started learning more and more and more, and then I decided that, you know what, like you already think about this like all day, every day. Why not just like do it professionally? And here I am, like probably 4 years later, telling you all about it.
And what about the company? So you started the company for the blockchain?
So no, which company are you referring to?
The one that got acquired by Coinbase.
Oh right, so that Bison Trails I didn't start. I was like an early-ish employee at Key. I was working for Decentral Park Capital as like the first hire, building up research and product functions there. And I became Bison Trails' like first or second or third customer, something like that. So I met like Joe and Aaron, who were the founders very early on in their journey. Like I was really impressed by how thoughtful they were, by how like hardworking, by the people they were able to actually attract around them, like really high caliber people. And so at some point, like we built a good working relationship over time, and at some point they're like, broadly there were like different steps, but broadly it was like, do you want to come and join us? And I was like, sure, why not? Like I'm interested in software. I'm interested in seeing like how these things actually run.
And you knew how to write code?
No. So I'm a researcher there. Like I'm what they call a protocol specialist. So what that means is like I'm the nearest thing you can be to a technical person without being like super technical. So you can like I can write SQL. Like there's this platform called Dune Analytics, which is basically like ETL'd data from the Ethereum blockchain, and then now Polygon and different chains, EVM compatible, and then indexed, and then you can write queries and so on. So I've been obsessed with that. I ended up being like top 3 author or something like that. But I can't do much more than that. Maybe like a little bit of Python data analytics stack. But our job is to like decipher the economic models, decipher like not so much the cryptography and so, but just like how the system works. If does it have any merit? Does it have like any glaring security flaws? What are the adoption prospects? Who is involved? And then like really get involved in the communities, like do research, do outreach, do a ton of stuff, like help the company understand like, okay, what should we be thinking about? What should we be developing products against? What are some things that are coming up that could like threaten our business or be amazing opportunities? So that's broadly what we do. And
this is important because currently the assumption is that to work for a blockchain company you need to be a kick-ass engineer, knowing smart contract, Python. Like the good thing with blockchain companies is that they need people that are visionaries, number one, because this is a space where you act with 5% of available information. Nothing is out there, nothing has been built yet. And then people that understand about economics, social marketing. This is like coders, they will definitely be coders out there. The difficulty is people that understand how these interactions work and how you can make money, how you can force people to buy or not to buy or to stack. For me,
it's like this space is like specifically Ethereum, right? Like in the state it is today. It's an experimental economist's wet dream, because like a lot of the mechanisms that we see deployed there are like inspired by papers in mechanism design written in like the 70s and 80s and so on. There's like a whole literature, and these concepts are being translated into products like MakerDAO. Or products like Uniswap, AMMs. Like the idea of automated market makers is like not like Hayden didn't come up with like he came up with a system, but like the concept existed, I believe, way before that. So Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like the skills that you need to like, bring a great product out in the world. Like obviously you need to understand engineering. Obviously you need to understand DevOps because there's like, there's nodes, there's code logic, there's like these things interoperate. You need to like be very mindful of security, whether you're running kind of like infrastructure like we do, or whether you're like running smart contracts on a chain, because when money moves at the speed of information, as it does in Ethereum, then you could end up like, if what you've built has merit, you deploy like an account with some sort of logic and you call it like a lending protocol or whatever, and then like suddenly you wake up the next day and you have 100 million.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, and what do you do? Like, cool, you make a bunch of money, like, and your stakeholders make a bunch of money and so on, but like, if you haven't thought about it, like this is all gonna get siphoned away like very, very quickly. So there's this, and then there's like mechanism design and incentive design and just creating like these tokens are so powerful. We went through a stage in the industry where tokens were dead in like late 2018, 2019, like tokens were dead.
I think after the ICOs maybe there was coin fatigue, like everybody was doing a coin.
Yeah. But these tokens, like, they're amazing community building tools. You get them in the hands of people, and then like they all kind of like, okay, well I hold this token, and then like I wanted to see go up in value, and that's okay. Also like, but without the token, it would be very hard to kind of like coordinate all these people. And so these are some of the things I'm really excited about as far as this technology goes. So like accelerating human coordination, open platforms and systems that people can go and deploy code on without asking for anybody's permission, and then like money moving at the speed of information with no opportunity cost, which is also like 100x improvement. That like I give you a dollar, but I also kind of like use the obligation to like go and transact with Ronen at the same time. Like this is creating economic freedom, right? Like, and securitization like that was never possible before, because the chain of obligation just breaks. You can like run away with the money and then I might never be able to find you again. But like on Ethereum, if you write that obligation, it will, well, I mean, you need an oracle to like give you the input that something happened and then it triggers, but like maybe it's like an internal thing from within the chain. So anyway, I'm rambling, so.
No, but that's a good thing. Like when you have a lot of information and you're passionate about the subject, that's
it just comes
of course. But let me ask you something. We talked a lot about the community, and for me, the community is more important than funding, more important than anything. If there is community, there will be funding. Obviously, if there is insane amount of funding, there will be community. Like in San Francisco, there are communities because it's insane amount, or used to be.
Where's the EOS community?
True.
Exactly.
True.
$4.2 billion, like whatever.
What I'm trying to say is that Greece, and specifically Europe, seems like the perfect place to create communities, because people are very close. And I've seen Greek communities here that are very, very powerful, not the crypto communities, but are very, very powerful, and they do some crazy things. I remember when we started the Python community, the Google Technology User Group community with Panos, huge. We keep having events non-stop. There were people going to our hackathons, everything. So the problem was not money. This was the excuse. Like, there's not enough money, there are not enough people funding this, which I don't understand, because in crypto, why do you need money, as you said?
No, you don't need money. Like DAOs and then projects and so on, like they grow out of Telegram groups, right? It's just like a Telegram group with like a bunch of people, and they talk about stuff, and then they're like, well, what if we like pooled funds together on chain and did cool stuff with it? That's a DAO. Right? Let's slap some governance on top of it. That's like a more real DAO with a governance token. And then like, maybe the DAO decides to like build like something, that's a project. So yeah, Greece is a great place for this. Greeks, that's my understanding from 10 years ago, because I haven't been here for like a long time. So Greeks sometimes tend to be very kind of like within themselves, Greeks with Greeks. Like this space is an incredible opportunity to kind of like just upload and download information from like the global community and then bring it in here and kind of like, you know, everybody brings like little bits and bobs that they have downloaded from like the whole global scene, and then you can do something really cool. And then maybe like, you know, you don't have to like, the fact that you're a community doesn't mean that you have to be working on stuff together all the time. You could be doing your own things, but then you'll download stuff and then you come and share like, you know, things that you're passionate about or interested in, and, you know, help other people up the curve, which is also like surprisingly rewarding, right? Like growing up, I was like such a like prissy kid, like I was so selfish and everything. But like the more I try and you know, help others and so on, the more actually like at the end of the day you're like, I feel good, I feel better. So again, I do encourage you all to like to try it, and like, you know, just assume the best, you know, don't assume the worst. Like really assume the best. It's like an interaction that you might have with like a stranger, or, you know, when you're gonna spend a little bit more time like explaining something to someone and so on. Just like assume the best, and pretty cool things actually might happen.
Yeah, and that's my approach, and I think that started becoming my approach in the US, where everybody assumes like you're a good person, everything will work, and they do business with you and they take huge risk extremely fast. But if you fuck up, you are fucked. Like if you're an asshole, you are fucked. In Europe, it's a little bit different, or I assume in Greece, like people they assume that you're a bad actor from the beginning,
right,
and they are very careful. So they miss opportunities to move fast, to experiment, to do new things. So they're like, I don't know, I'm not sure. They're like, let's do it, we'll figure it out. You fucked up, you're fucked. Like,
yeah. I don't know if any of you have the same experience, but like I grew up with a grandma that was like, every time I was getting out of my place, she was like, do not trust anybody. Do not talk to anybody that you don't know. Everybody's out there to get you. So it kind of like took a while for me to actually kind of like, you know, not stop looking over my shoulder all the time and like trust people. But like once I did, and given that like, also, because it's open source, like the whole blockchain, crypto community and so on, like there's a huge aspect that is open source. And open source communities are very collaborative, like very collaborative. So everybody approaches things like, yeah, like it's gonna work out. So let's see like how we can help each other. And it just like rolls very quickly. You just have to get into like a little bit of a groove.
Oh yeah. Has anybody worked in an open source project here? 2, 3, I like how you do it slowly. Like. So I would definitely suggest like experimenting and playing around with open source projects and participating a little bit. I know it's difficult, especially in terms of time and commitment, but it's really helpful.
But also there's, so the catch here is that like in traditional open source, you just contribute. Here, you also have like tokens, right? Which is like they're near money. So basically like, it's very common for people to go out and ask for grants to, you know, there's like project treasuries out there, right? Like Compound has a treasury, Uniswap has a treasury. There's like a bunch of projects that because of the fees that they generate, they deploy on chain, there's a lot of people that use them, they generate fees, they put them in the treasury, and then that's like growth capital, right? Like, so they're gonna use it in order to grow the protocol itself. So these treasuries are like pools of money where you can submit a proposal, like a council that decides is going to vote like whether, you know, they like the proposal or not, and then they're going to pay you to actually do the work, right? So like it's a really interesting and powerful, and it's also a moment in time because these treasuries are overfunded and underutilized. So they're looking for like people to go there with ideas and kind of like to build and so on. And it could be the simplest thing from the most complicated thing, but they're like the barriers to at least like put your idea forward is very low.
Oh yeah.
So if anybody's interested, I totally encourage you to actually go looking for these. And if you need like help to get pointed to stuff, like you know, feel free to reach out.
Do we have any questions? Do you guys have any questions? Yeah.
So you discussed about the emergence of this open source collaborative system recently because of tokens and of aligning incentives and market themselves. It's the LAOs versus DAOs question.
So these centralized entities, I don't know. And the reason why is that regulation, right? Like we talked about regulation a lot today. But the centralized entities, they're like rooted in the real world or the off-chain world. This is where they grew up in, right? And that has created like a million contingencies for them, such that they're not able to use these tools without like actually being hounded by the regulators, because, well, they just issued an unregistered security because it was a token, or they did like undefined or whatever gray area activity within kind of like or they're bound by strict KYC AML rules that do not allow them to go and participate in DeFi, for example, and like lend funds out on Compound or supply assets on Uniswap and whatnot, because they're pooling funds with who knows who, right? Like it could be, my grandma, it could be like a terrorist, it could be anybody in between. So I don't necessarily see that. I do see like hybrid organizations like developing. I do see, I think Ronan touched on it as well. I do see like Ethereum and the generalized sort of blockchain ecosystem and all these protocols that have been created to act as like backends for front ends that are built like on your mobile, and they're potentially custodial, and not everybody's going to have a MetaMask wallet. I do see a future like that. But I see like a future with options. Like there's going to be opt-out options, and you're going to be able to kind of like venture out on your own with a MetaMask wallet, for example, if you so wished. But what excites me the most is the like native things to blockchain, right? Like what types of organizations can we create purely on this thing that are like as loosely bound to the off-chain world as possible? And this is like, you can do it today. You can like fund in USDC, or ETH or whatever. So you have like bootstrap capital, you can have like a governance structure, you can like pool talent that is incentivized. There's like, you can express a vesting schedule of stocks or tokens or whatever on chain, such that your stakeholders remain incentivized over a longer time period and so on. You can do a bunch of stuff. So I'm really excited to see like how governance evolves and where we can actually go with this, because like the transparency that you talked about with Ronan before, and the converse of that, the privacy necessary, is super useful if that's, these platforms are to be adopted more widely. But there's something really interesting about the transparency of these platforms, right? So you can imagine like if you project things very, very deep in the future, and you imagine that like there's a master smart algo that controls like the whole fucking traffic light and traffic system in a city, right? Like who controls that algorithm? Where does that algorithm live? Where's like the version control? Like, is that in the hands of a government, or is that in the hands of a government and the city's people, right? And like, can people vote on upgrades or downgrades and so on? So today it's like just on-chain stuff that is tried and sometimes very silly, sometimes super interesting and actually valuable. But who knows what it might be tomorrow? So the way we approach it today and the tools that we build and all that could end up running like crazy things in the future.
I think the Internet of Things with Internet of Money, the moment they connect, that's where things become super interesting.
But we're far, right? Like I think back in 2017 or 18, like people got very excited about that vision, and like today we couldn't be furthest from that. Like, we need faster layer ones, we need to like get over like serious scaling issues, we need to get over, but once these are in place, we might get there, right? But for now it's like finance and NFTs, and that's cool. They're like huge markets.
And for me the important thing is that around 2016 people were like, crypto is dead, blockchain is dead, the hype died, it's over.
Yep.
And all of a sudden we had again some ICOs, we had again some projects, a lot of funding going there, and this community that was just doing their own thing all of a sudden exploded again with NFTs, and all of a sudden it's not about some mystical thing, algorithms or whatever. It's like, hey guys, you buy digital art, that's how it works. And then people said like, now you can lend money. And then another thing started, sprouting out of nowhere. So I think that crypto, there is no one out there that should think that crypto is going away.
Right.
Maybe 5 years ago you could say, okay, maybe there is no adoption, it's dead. But now people that experience buying stuff, selling them, locking their money, stacking them, it's very difficult to go back to traditional ways. For example, I was trying to use my Alpha Bank account here, huge mistake, and I'm like, the app has issues. My account, because I haven't used it for a year, is locked.
Yeah.
I have to go to the bank and tell them, unlock my account. Why my account is locked?
I had a very similar experience.
Because I haven't used it. It's insane.
Yeah.
So I cannot do any wire transfers or use anything. So I'm like, I could literally send any money immediately with my wallet, and I have it here, and it works. I could buy my tickets, I could have my collectibles, I could do everything. I really wish the banks had this, because I feel safer when I control the assets, and I know I could give the money to other people and to other contracts that I know I can review how they work. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I've done so many startup investments that were stupid, so it's okay. There's some money in crypto. So yeah, that's for me, it's the thing. The moment you see the future, it's very difficult to go back.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to use the internet anymore. Good luck.
No, good luck.
Yeah,
Good luck with that.
Well,
Yeah. But transparency is really important, and I'm excited like in the intersection of privacy and transparency. Like how do we make the stuff that need to be private, but how do we keep like the transparency necessary to be able to like lift veils because that level of clarity like levels the playing field as far as like information goes, right? And if there's less information asymmetries, like we can get to consensus sooner, no pun intended. But we really can. Like, if we all can trust like a bunch of data, all of us here, and then like the whole like city, and then the country, and then the world, and so on. If we can look at like a set of data that like points to events that happen in a cadence, a sequence of events, and so on, and we can all agree that like this is the truth. Imagine how much like easier it would be to like exist with other people and do business and cooperate and so on. So it's I'm excited about that.
Me too. Guys, any questions? Yep.
Elias, if you say I'm a person I don't know anything about it, what is Bitcoin protocol? What is Ethereum protocol? What is Polkadot protocol? What is a protocol? Because maybe people don't understand exactly because they think that cryptocurrency is like fiat money, but they have to understand it maybe in a simple way that what is exactly a protocol that makes?
I'll turn the question back around. What's a protocol in the army?
You have to do this, and this.
Right? A set of rules.
Yes.
That's what a protocol is. Even within crypto and blockchain and so on, a protocol is a set of rules, such that like it's deterministic. Like you throw like a bolt of whatever a ball in there, and then like the ball does like a journey, and you can predict it like almost perfectly, right? Like that's what a protocol is. So the Bitcoin protocol is like it's software. It's like a set of rules that like if this then that and so on and so forth. Now the protocol together with machines, hardware like miners, proof of work miners and so on, make up the network and the people. Right? Never forget the people. Like without the people, there is no network. And we forget, like we often talk about protocols and networks like they're amorphous blobs of like techno babble. But there's like these are people, right? It's software and hardware assisted human coordination. So that's the distinction. Like when you hear protocol, think about like what are the rules? What is the cadence of these rules that are unique to this construction? And then the network is these specific rules together with the hardware and the people that run the hardware and operate on top of the network.
Yeah, from what I can understand, you're also a systems slash protocol guy, like you think like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So I wanted to ask, like, if somebody wants to, because I can see that this is like the internet with the whole adoption curve, like going like that.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to be like an expert in the next 2-3 years, what would be a good protocol for him to follow in order to become a
Good question, eh?
Or a protocol not to follow.
A protocol? Oh god, no. That's a trap. That, sir, is a trap.
You recorded.
I know. That's why I'm not going to fall for the trap. But a protocol to follow. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on. I think, like.
So, but that technical protocol, like how to follow information, how to develop on that, right? So I can assume that at some point you got really interested in that for technology, right?
Right.
So you said I'm interested in that, and I wanna follow the information and learn, etc.
Yeah.
So having done this path, what would be a personal protocol for
so
you to follow?
What's my learnings for like getting up the curve and like getting context and so on?
Exactly.
Yeah, this is a really good question.
Better than the previous one, right?
Less controversial.
So number one, follow me on Twitter. Number two, see number one. No, but really.
Follow everybody you follow.
And
Like
control everything, right?
nice little recursive loop, right?
And then how do you filter information if you do that?
What's filtering information?
The
So
fine technique.
So here's the thing. First of all, start with like how you approach it. Just like be curious and open-minded, but also be forthright about like stuff that you shut down. Like be liberal with like what, because there's so much information out there. You have to like be a really good curator, and you have to develop that curatorial ability yourself.
Have the decision tree, like the...
Yeah, exactly. So like just like go wide in the beginning, learn about everything, learn about the fundamentals, learn about consensus algorithms and like how they work and so on. Learn about their history and how they have evolved, right? Like learn about things that never made it into production grade blockchains, like
And the reasons why.
yeah, exactly, the Raft protocol and things like that. And then get like a good basis of like how things got to here, because history is important, right? It's like the context of things. And then find like one or two things that interest you and go really deep. So maybe that's like
The T-shape, right?
yeah, exactly. And then get involved with communities as soon as you can. Like I wasn't really involved in my earlier years because I just wasn't like the kind of person that would get involved. But then once I kind of did it, it became like a drug, because I started like learning so much more and like connecting with interesting people, and just like really like my prior that like no one's gonna care. Like actually like people fucking care.
Yeah.
It's just like the hidden truth in like the whole
So
thing.
now you can be fun at parties again, right?
Yeah.
Fun at crypto parties.
They don't know that like So do that, get involved with your communities, contribute, because that way you learn like more deeply, because you build, right? Like building is the best way to learn. But also like you provide value to like that community, right? So like so long as you provide value, and like this could be by writing, this could be by writing code, this could be by writing like queries on Dune and so on. Like you really help people like make sense of all that stuff, and then hopefully that comes back to you somehow. And be optimistic in general. Like but also like think adversarially and all that, because that's what the space is a lot about. But like just be open-minded, be optimistic, focus, go T-shaped, and be liberal with kind of like filtering out stuff that are noise, like dog coins, scams. Like maybe they're not noise for your like particular interest, and that's perfectly fine. But if they are, like they are for me, phase them out, right? Like and focus on the stuff that really matter.
More abstract, maybe do the same, expand it and filter.
Yeah.
For people also. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And find your squad. this is like this is a good, like this is the community thing, but like also a little bit more concentrated. There's like, and your squad could be like internet. They all live in the cloud. Maybe you find them, you meet them like once a year. Or
Step one from group Twitter.
yeah, go back to step one. I think these are like pretty good starting points. And use Twitter. And like use it well. Twitter is like your garden, right? Like you have to be a good gardener. If you like let it grow out of proportion, it will suck. And you will have a horrible experience on Twitter. But if you like use it well and you curate like the information that you allow in and so on, and you reach out to people and you connect and so on, it can like give you a great experience, really high quality information, and just a way to like just stay in touch with like in sync with everybody else that's like in this industry.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions, guys? Perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect. Thanks, man.